On May 1st, the federal cybersecurity agency CISA added a Linux kernel flaw to its public list of vulnerabilities being actively attacked in the wild. They called it copy fail. Federal agencies got 2 weeks to patch. On CVSS, the 1 to 10 severity scale every scanner uses, the flaw rated 7.8. High, not critical. In most dashboards, that puts it below the fold. This is the pulse. Cybersecurity signal in 5 minutes. I'm Jane. Here's the thing about copy fail. It's a local privilege escalation. An attacker with a foothold on a Linux host becomes root in a few hundred bytes of Python code. Most triage methods quietly assume that foothold away. In cloud and container environments, where shared kernels make local a thinner line than the org chart admits, that assumption is a gift to the attacker. So while your scanner sorted the dashboard by score and pushed your team toward the 9.8s, a 7.8 sat on a federal deadline, because attackers were already running it. This is the CVSS trap, and almost every founder-led company I see has stepped in it. CVSS measures how bad a vulnerability would be if exploited under ideal attacker conditions. That is the definition, not how likely it is to get exploited, not how likely it is to get exploited against you, just impact, assuming the attack works. You took that number and used it as a risk score. Nobody told you to. The scanner vendor didn't tell you to. The framework didn't tell you to. The score got sorted highest to lowest because that is what tables do. And the rest happened on its own. You patched the 9.8s first because they were at the top. The research has shown for years, most vulnerabilities scored high or critical are never exploited in the wild. Attackers do not pick targets by browsing a CVE list and sorting by score. They pick by what is reachable, what is reliable, and what scales. A reliable 7.8 with a public proof of concept and a working kernel exploit is worth more to them than a theoretical 9.8 that needs 3 conditions they cannot guarantee. Your scanner does not know the difference. Your scanner knows the score. Severity is not probability. CVSS is not a risk score. This is the moment most security leaders push back, because the alternative sounds like more work, and the current model at least lets you ship a report to the board. I get it. The dashboard is sorted, the cadence is documented, the auditor is satisfied, and the company believes it has a vulnerability management program. What you actually have is a list, sorted by severity, executed top-down, with no input about what is being exploited against anyone, much less you. That is not security. That is bookkeeping. The companies that get this right do not throw CVSS away. They stop using it as the only signal. They cross-reference severity against exploitation data that exists, that is free, and that almost nobody at SMB scale is consuming. They look at what is being exploited right now, not what could be exploited under ideal conditions. They make a smaller list, in a different order, and they ship. Why this matters more than it used to. The speed of exploitation has collapsed. Public proof of concept code now lands within days of disclosure, sometimes hours. CopyFail had working exploit code in Python, Go, and Rust on public repositories before it ever hit the federal list. Patching by CVSS sorted dashboard puts you in a race against an attacker who already knew which 7.8 to grab. The trap is not that CVSS is wrong. CVSS is fine at what it measures. The trap is treating the only number on your screen as the answer to a question it was not built to answer. You can fix this. Most teams I work with rebuild their prioritization model in a week. They have to admit first that the number they have been sorting by is not the number they thought it was. Severity is not probability. CVSS is not a risk score. The 7.8 already cost you. The 9.8 you raced on last week was probably nobody's target. That gap is the measurement gap, and next Sunday's Pulse is about how to close it. One question before we go. No answer, just the question. If 2 vulnerabilities landed on your scanner today, one scored 9.8 with no public exploit code, one scored 7.8 with working code in 3 languages. Which one would your team patch first? And is that the answer you would defend to your board? Full edition with source links at signal.echocyber.io. I'm Jane. More signal, less noise.